they never believed in a monolithic Nigeria. When they started their politics, they started NPC, Northern People's Congress. They didn't call it Nigerian People's Congress.
Now, let's take Akintola from this point.
Yes.
Northern People's Congress.
Yes.
They didn't believe in Nigeria, really. Was it not a surprise that Akintola, as the premier of the Western region, had to align with a group that didn't believe in Nigeria?
You know human psychology. If you drive your friend away, you will run to your enemy.
Who drove Akintola away?
The system. The elites in the action group. Akintola never wanted to be premier of the Western region. He had no such ambition. He was the deputy leader of the action group. Awolowo had a dream which he called flashes of inspiration, that he would become the next prime minister of Nigeria. Akintola was already a federalist and leader of the opposition in the federal parliament. He had been Minister of Health, through which he supported the funding and funding of the UCH. He had been Minister of Aviation, through which he supported the funding and funding of the Nigerian Airways. He had been Minister of Labour and Communication. He had all his life, from 1930 to 1959, lived in Lagos. He had his house on number 20 Ajasa Street on the Lagos Island. Awolowo had always been an Ibadan man. So when all this, the mistake they made, when Awolowo was to leave, because Akintola was not part of the shenanigans, he was never part of the politicking, part of the governance in the Western region. He was busy in Lagos. They needed to provide and produce somebody that was already part of that system to succeed Awolowo. But it would be difficult, because if the leader was leaving, it stands to reason and common sense that the deputy leader should succeed him. The deputy leader was Samuel Ladoke Akintola, who was equally qualified.
So when he came in as the premier of the Western region,
on the 15th of December, on the 3rd of November 1959, Chief Femi Awolowo addressed a joint session of the parliament. We have the House of Chiefs and the House of Assembly, that he was ascending further to be Prime Minister of Nigeria. So a lot of people tried to discourage him. As at this time, Awolowo was the man of the moment. He was the man in power as premier. He was the man in government, and he was a leader of the party. Two very heavy powers resided in one person. And the most important of those powers was the control of the purse, governance.
And that you can do only as the premier.
And that you can do only as the premier. When he lost this power, and now had only the power of the leader of the party, he could no longer distribute like G's. He could no longer say, Edmond, you will be the minister for Edo constituency. He could no longer say this, and it will be like that.
But ordinarily, He should have been able to do that as the leader of the party.
As the leader of the party, power is an aphrodisiac.
It intoxicates.
It intoxicates. In politics, one person will be friendly with two leaders. He will listen to Mr. A and go to Mr. B to run him down. He will go to Mr. B and say, this is what Mr. A said. And that was when the dispersal started. Because when Akintola came on the 15th of December, 1959, he had nowhere. Awolowo was his in-law in Odrona. He could have stayed with them. Saka, Anthony Agbaje, at Lafayette Hospital, was his friend. He could have stayed with him, a medical doctor. But he didn't. He stayed in the Okebola residence of Femi Awolowo between December 15 and March 1960, when a structure, a dingy, disused building used by a colonial officer, was discovered in the Ladoke area and was found to be good enough and renovated for Premier Lodge. And that was where he stayed from March 1960 till the 15th of January 1966.
When he was killed.
When he was butchered, when he was murdered. So you will see that initially when they started, there was no such enmity between them. But politics came in and divided them.
Is that what politics does?
Eh?
Is that what politics does to friends?
Well, if you allow it.
You have played politics.
I have played politics. And I know that in politics, ordinary song could be as deadly as a bazooka gun.
If you are just joining the broadcast, I am discussing with Honorable Femi Kehinde, the author of the book, Samuel Ladoke Akintola in the Eyes of History. This is the book, and the author of this book is here. Do not forget, this is a class of politics, history, and power. We are looking at this book, but soon I'll come to the chapter about the coup, how politics consumed the premier of the Western region, Ladoke Akintola. Are you interested in getting this book? There are WhatsApp numbers pinned to this broadcast. You can send a WhatsApp message and request to buy this book. Those WhatsApp numbers are the numbers of Udara Books. You can also go on udarabooks.com for interesting titles on politics, power, and history. The bookstore is dedicated to political and historical books. So you can go on the store. There are interesting titles that will educate your mind.